The initial Irishman reactions have arrived, and we'll be talking more about award season. Stay tuned.
Welcome to Popcorn Talk, featuring movie discussion, news, and interviews. Popcorn Talk. We talk movies.
Hey everyone, welcome to Film Critics Weekly, presented by the Los Angeles Online Film Critics Society. I, of course, am Scott Menzel, and welcome back to another wonderful episode. We are going to be talking a lot about award season, and starting off with the Irishman initial reactions out of the New York Film Festival. But before we talk a little bit about that, let's move over to my co-host for today,
Yay!
The wonderful Wendy Lee Szany.
Woo! I feel like I need confetti or something like that. I'm so excited to be here. Thank you for having me.
So, no problem. It's always a pleasure, and I love your energy, as always.
Oh, thanks.
So, tell the audience a little bit about you, where they can find you, and all that good stuff.
Oh, you can find me on various Collider videos and on YouTube at The Movie Couple.
Very cool. You should definitely check out The Movie Couple if you have not checked it out, because her and her husband do these wonderful trailer reactions where what I love the most about them is that they do disagree. And
we do disagree.
And it's a lot of fun to actually watch a couple disagree on camera. So there you go. You should definitely check it out. So, of course, the big news today, right out the gate, and normally we don't do breaking news here, but because it ties into Oscar season and a lot of people have been talking about this movie, I feel like it's been one of the most buzzed movies of the year.
Right.
Besides Joker, of course.
Yes.
The Irishman. Now, do you have any initial reaction, anticipation for this movie?
I mean, anticipation isn't as much as, like, I'm excited to watch it because it's a Martin Scorsese film. The hesitation is, I think it's going to be weird that it's Netflix.
Yes.
That it's not going to be on screen, and it's just, I never thought that I would, like, see a Scorsese film open for streaming as opposed to theatrical, but it's also 2019, so I think tunes are starting to change for movie releases and things like that. So this will be really interesting.
Yeah, I'm very intrigued by this. Martin Scorsese is a master filmmaker, as we both probably would agree on. Mm-hmm. He has had his share of hits and misses. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people really love Silence. It was definitely not a movie that worked for me, but a lot of people loved it. This is almost feels like he's going back to his roots.
Yes.
Getting the old gang back together.
Yeah.
And it's interesting because we as a critics group love to have that diverse opinion and kind of see it. And I'm seeing all these initial reactions, and
they screened it.
Yeah, very. New York Film Festival had the world premiere. I think it played at 8 o'clock this morning.
Wait, 8 o'clock their time?
Yeah, 8 o'clock this morning for them.
That's so early.
It's ridiculously early. Maybe even 7 o'clock, because the reaction, well, it's only 11 now, so that would be, 2 now? Mm-hmm. And the reactions have been out for over an hour. So, yeah, it was either 7 or 8. Wow. But the thing is that besides your good friend and co-host over at Collider, there's very few women reactions so far.
Really? Interesting. Yeah. Okay.
But to kick it off, to give a little shout-out to Perry.
Yay, Perry!
She says it was well worth the red-eyed flight and well worth every single minute of the 3.5-hour runtime. And she's going to have a review on Collider Video later, but the lead trio is as good as you hope it would be.
I really didn't have any doubt, as in the leads would deliver as they would. I don't think I realized the runtime was 3 hours and what?
3.5 hours.
You know, that immediately changes my opinion on why it should be long on Netflix, so I can pause and take a bathroom break, because in the theaters you can't be like, can everybody pause? Can we all just take a communal recess right now from the movie? So, wow, that's interesting.
Yeah. I mean, that was the big news that happened when they showed the first trailer, and then there was a runtime announcement, and I think they cut off a whole 1 minute in post production.
A lot can happen in 1 minute.
You know, who knows what's missing from that movie? Release the Scorsese cut right now. We can start that hashtag right now.
My goodness.
But, it's funny because almost every single reaction, though, I do want to give a shout out to my friend Mara, who also saw the movie, and she had positive reaction to it, not as glowing as some of the other reviews. Basically, she was making fun of all the people in the dark trying to take their hot takes on Twitter about the movie. But she said it's a middle of the road Scorsese pick.
Okay.
Definitely a more somber character study than a tense mob thriller. And then she said, I suspect the word masterpiece is going to be thrown around a lot. I wouldn't go that far, but the acting, of course, is top, with Pacino especially.
Of course.
So that does not surprise me. The weird thing is that I haven't seen many people so far tweeting about Joe Pesci, which is
I wonder how much is he in it then?
Yeah, that's what I wanted to know from this film, because he hasn't made a movie since
that's
in
true.
a long time.
That's true.
He came out of retirement to do this movie.
Oh wow.
So that's interesting.
Yeah.
I want to just talk about quickly here. Brett _, don't even know who the heck that is. The Irishman, an instant Martin Scorsese classic. That's everything you wanted to be and more. De Niro's best work in ages. Oh, here's Pesci. Pesci lights up the screen.
Yes.
Al Pacino as Jimmy Hoffa screaming about the Kennedys is the peak of cinema.
Nice.
Let's see. We got Robert Levine. It's a masterpiece, period.
There it is.
There you go. Another one. Karen Hahn says The Irishman, Al Pacino, Oscar? Question mark. Jason Gorber, my friend from Toronto. Audacious, epic, a film that feels like it spans lifetimes, but yet it whisks by. Technically bold, performance is raw, darkly humorous. It's a calculation of all of Martin Scorsese's fascinations and a late career triumphant.
Nice.
So
do any of them talk about the de-aging? I'm most curious about that.
Eric Cohn says the artifacts of de-aging is more a feature than a bug.
Okay.
This lady Anna Menta said the de-aging worked for me, jarring at first, but you get used to it.
All right. Well, that's interesting.
And that's pretty much it so far for the de-aging.
So mostly good, skewed to the good side. There's no one saying anything like, oh, it was bad or boring or whatever it may be. Like, and I don't feel like that's kind of the mindset you have going in when you're about to watch a Scorsese film with these actors.
Well, let's talk about that. I actually wanted to bring that up. So you went to Toronto. It was your first film festival.
It was.
Do you feel at any point in time when you were watching a movie that you feel like your reaction was kind of skewed a little bit due to being part of the crowd, being part of the first audience to see something?
Maybe on the first day, just because I was so excited to be there. But it's also when you're at the festival, if you're going as press, you're working, right? So your brain is really working the whole time thinking about how you're going to write or do a video review of said movie. So you don't want to ever you don't want to let that excitement take over too much, because you still really want to be honest in your review, and not saying that you can't change your mind later when you revisit that film and say, okay, like I was really excited to see it, and thinking back, here are my follow-up thoughts or whatever it may be. But I personally don't feel like I got too caught up in that whirlwind of excitement, just because you're sitting down for a film for usually an hour and a half to 2 hours. And no matter how excited you are, when you're sitting in rest and in the dark in the theater, that movie, you and that movie, it's just kind of becomes like the relationship between you and that movie. And when it stops speaking to you and it stops piquing your interest, that's what it is. You can't bring back your excitement like that because you're already in the movie or halfway through. And if you've lost interest, that happened to me with a couple of movies where I was kind of like, what time is it? And I don't ever want to think that thought at all in movies, but there were a couple of movies where I was like, okay, not my favorite.
Yeah. No, it's interesting. The reason I asked you that question is that there has been numerous times for me personally, and maybe it's because I've been to so many festivals where I get swept up in the crowd around me. And one movie for me that I felt that way about, and I know you did not see it at the festival, was Just Mercy.
Oh, yeah,
I was at the world premiere of that, and the cast came out, and I love Brie, I love the director, I love Destin. Who doesn't love Michael B. Jordan?
Of course, yeah.
So you be in the room, you feel that excitement, and you're watching the movie.
Jamie Foxx was there.
Jamie Foxx was there as well. You feel the motion, and you get to see that reaction of people standing up and cheering and getting that standing ovation. And as a critic, you've almost become programmed. At least I have, and a lot of my colleagues have, where you want to tweet. You get that urge to pull that phone and give that reaction right away. And it was funny because in the moment, I was all about Just Mercy. I was all about this movie for Best Picture. I was all about this movie being nominated in all the categories. Next morning, thought about it again.
Yeah.
I was like, wasn't that great?
Yeah.
Wasn't that great?
Sometimes it's better to not tweet right away.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I've learned that the hard way, even through reviews where I've been to festivals and I've watched something once and it really worked for me, and then I went back and I went to see it with we go to press screenings here, or I take Ashley to go see a movie, and then all of a sudden my reaction changes.
Yeah.
And then you feel weird, but I think that's part of being a film critic. And I think a lot of people have to be a little bit more like that and realize that sometimes your opinion does change, and sometimes
that's really okay, because movies aren't made to be watched only once. If that was the case, then why have it on digital and streaming and DVDs, right? So I think when you review movies, you'll want to also look at the rewatch value of that movie. Are you just as entertained 6 months from now, a year from now, 5 years from now? So sometimes, movies don't age well. Sometimes you watch and you're caught up in the excitement, and you watch it again a couple of weeks down the line. You're like, I really liked it from the first time, and now maybe my opinion's changed a little bit. It's not a bad thing. I don't think it's a bad thing at all. I think it's okay to change your opinion. Yeah.
I was just thinking about that, and I was just curious on your thoughts of being the first time that you've been to a film festival, if you felt that, because it's weird, because I think the first few times that I went to a film festival, I didn't feel that way.
Yeah.
And then the more I started attending them,
the more you felt caught up in the excitement?
You feel
Really?
more caught up in the excitement. And
I'd be the opposite.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I would be very excited for the very first time, and then the excitement would still be there, just the same. But I don't think I would be kind of in your case, I don't want to say more excited, but
Yeah, I think because to me, what makes a film festival so exciting is not going to a film festival. It's the lineup and the potential of the movies that you're seeing.
Yes.
So depending on how strong the lineup is, therefore reflects my excitement towards the festival.
I mean, I think I'd always be excited to go to a festival, period. Being able to be at TIFF was just I never really in my ever thought that I would have the opportunity to go. So the fact that I got to go, I got to hang out with the people that kind of guided me, because I would have been lost, but I don't know where anything is.
But you were a trooper. You got around, you planned. I mean, you were great at it.
Yeah, day 3, I was I'm gonna go have lunch by myself.
No, you were great. And I mean, ladies and gentlemen, this woman over here, dedicated. She made sure she filmed every single review. You did such a great job.
But not all of them's been edited yet.
No, but I'm just saying, I'm still 15 reviews behind. Okay, you made sure you took some time out to actually review them, even if they're not up yet.
Yeah,
they're there and done. So I applaud you for doing that.
They're all filmed. What's also good about not putting? Oh, thanks for the applause. What's also kind of good about, to kind of circle back to what we were talking about, your excitement.
Yeah.
What's good about certain reviews that I haven't edited yet is now it's time's passed.
Yes.
But those movies aren't out yet, and I can kind of revisit certain movies. There's a reason why I put certain ones up and certain ones I didn't. And sometimes I want to think about it. And so there are certain movies that reviews that I haven't put up, and I think in the editing process I kind of take a look at it and I say, maybe I want to refilm that, but most of the time I don't. 99% of the times I don't. I'm pretty confident in how I feel then and how I would feel now, but sometimes I leave it just so I can kind of give it a second thought.
Yeah. I mean, it's funny. I very rarely, just like you, I very rarely have the urge to see something again like right away after a festival, unless I feel like I'm in the minority on it. Okay, so after all this initial buzz, we talked about this last week, so we won't spend too much time on it, but I know you also really enjoy Jojo Rabbit.
Yeah.
That movie, to me, there was a disconnect there. I don't think it's risky. I don't think it's bold. It was very conventional, cookie cutter for me. But all these,
I don't think anything Taika does is conventional.
I thought, to me, it was. I mean, it felt like Mel Brooks, like a wannabe Mel Brooks.
Really?
Yeah,
oh,
it
boy.
really did.
Okay.
But you know, everybody's reaction towards it. You know, like I value your opinion. I value, you know, Ash's opinion, Dimitri's, Nestor's. And the funny thing is that so many people have had such a different reaction to this movie.
To Jojo Rabbit?
That I actually emailed Fox this morning, and before I actually put out my review, I asked them to watch it again.
Oh, good. Good for you.
Because I want to kind of make sure that my opinion was not affected by... I saw 3 great movies that day before I saw Jojo Rabbit, and
that was a good day.
Maybe it was the weaker movie of the pack for me, and then therefore I took out my that ability that it didn't live up to the hype out on that movie.
Right.
So that's why I'm like, all right, I'm gonna go see it again.
Yeah, good for you.
But you know, so we should talk a little bit about Toronto and kind of we'll talk about the movies coming out at the end of the show. But it was your first festival, start of award season, a lot of conversations afterwards. So starting with the award season stuff, what are some movies from earlier in the year that you feel still should be in the conversation, still have chance?
Once Upon a Time in Rocketman.
Okay.
And The Farewell.
Okay.
I loved The Farewell. But yeah, those 3 really stood out to me. Well, one, I'm a Tarantino fan, so that's kind of like my mindset going in. I'm like very excited that excitement what we're talking about, and I'm like, yes. But the thing is that the acting, Leo specifically, really delivered for me, and I'm like, I've never been disappointed by Leo, and you know, ever. But there's so many scenes. The one especially when he was on set, and then he took a break, and then he goes to the trailer. Like, I was also as an aspiring actor, I'm kind of like, yes, 100% get it, been there, done that, yes. Where you just like kind of so it's relatable on you know, it's entertaining, and it's just like kind of seeing that retro and the way Tarantino films is just such like a treat to have on screen again. The Rocketman was just full of entertainment. Tarant's fantastic, and then The Farewell really spoke to me just because of that story and how I grew up in the culture and kind of seeing like you know, like Chinese culture and Chinese American culture and the lifestyles and the differences. Yeah, I mean, Farewell to me, that movie I saw back at Sundance, and that is a film that holds up on second viewing, third viewing. It is Awkwafina is a powerhouse in that film, and I know this is one that's kind of losing a little bit of steam because A24 always has an impressive like award season lineup. Yeah. And I'm hoping that they keep pushing for this movie because I do think it deserves director. Yes. I think it deserves screenplay, actress, and even the supporting work I think is really, really strong in it. I'm getting a little nervous though because I feel like it's starting to fall out of the conversation quite a bit. Yeah. And then with Waves coming out, and then as much as I know you and I have very similar opinions on The Lighthouse. Right. Everybody's very excited about The Lighthouse. Everyone's very excited about Lighthouse. And, you know, giving the release time, they have to decide what movies are going to put their money behind. Yeah. And also all 3 of those films very different. Oh, very, like, could not be more different. Right. You know. So, but man, I love A24. Like, I would hate someone to be like, "What's your favorite movie from A24?" all of them.
Yeah, it's a weird, A24. I have such a love-hate relationship with A24 because I either love because I either love every other movie they put out, and then I hate like every other movie they put out, like Lighthouse. Like Lighthouse, I kind of look at it, I'm like, oh my god.
I feel like I need to watch it again. I know they're doing a screening soon for it. I feel like I want to revisit. I don't know yet. I haven't decided.
You haven't decided.
I haven't decided.
But they've always had like the bling ring. No.
Oh no.
You love that?
That's my jam.
Was it?
Yeah.
See?
Into it.
And I think that's what's also great about A24 is that they have movies that, regardless of how one person feels about, there's someone who has the completely polar opposite reaction to that movie, and it's like, this is the greatest movie ever made. What are you talking about? So that was a great reaction to that. But yeah, I mean, I really hope Farewell gets in the conversation. Rocket Man, unfortunately, I think it's dead.
Come on now.
I do.
It's because it's so early on, and then we have all these films coming out.
Okay. A couple of things. The Bohemian Rhapsody thing that happened last year with all the music biopics, and you already have two transformative performances this year that have been very discussed. I mean, you had Judy, of course, with Renee Zellweger, and she's right now, she's in the front. She's front running that Best Actress category right now. And then you have Taron in this, but the conversation has dropped so significantly about this movie. And I feel like with a musical movie winning last year and all that buzz and all the negative energy with the same director attached, I don't think it's going to make it, unfortunately.
Right.
I think that is the best performance that Taron has ever given. And he's incredible in the film.
So good in it. Yeah. And Jamie Bell, too.
Oh, yeah, both of them.
Really fantastic.
Jamie Bell, actually, it's funny.
I would love to see him be nominated for supporting.
I think he has a better chance than Taron.
So, it's so hard when you look at all these categories for whether it's actor, actress, supporting, or lead. It's so hard, especially this year. I mean, I say this every year, but like it's stacked. And you look at that pool of actors, you're just kind of like, well, they're all good. Can we just all give them an award? But fingers crossed, I think, for Taron. I would love for him to get a nod from the Academy.
Yeah.
It does make me feel a little sad that like Rocky Man isn't like it's starting to dry up. But I think once they start making the push again for it.
Yeah, I mean Paramount. See, this is the benefit that Paramount has right now, right? Paramount doesn't have a lot of movies to push, so they can push Gemini Man for maybe like special effects and that category.
Yeah.
But in terms of like acting and directing, they don't really have a lot to go on right now. I mean, unless that Terminator movie really blows us out of the water, there's nothing really that they have. So they have one movie that they can get behind and really put a strong awards campaign.
Yeah.
So it's possible.
Yeah.
I'm just doubtful with all the movies that we saw in Toronto.
Correct.
And then what's
there's a lot of good stuff.
What's still like coming. But one movie that has stayed with me, and you brought it up, is Once Upon a Time.
Oh God, it's so good.
It's so good. And even though I have problems with some of the runtime, with the driving around and those scenes that I just felt like
with Brad Pitt.
Yeah. That's me driving every day in LA. Yeah, I get it.
But think how much that speaks to the people who don't live here, though.
I know.
Like they would never know.
No.
But now they do if they see the movie.
Yeah, like when he's driving from wherever he drives in the valley to Chatsworth, and I'm like sitting there, I'm like, yep, I done that drive before.
We get it.
Yeah, we get it. But those performances in that film.
It's so good. Oh my gosh.
I would love, even that little girl. I would love to see her best supporting actress for that little
she's
girl.
Great.
I don't even know her name, but she should get best supporting actress.
Oh man, that scene with Leo when they were just both reading and like how and it was funny because it seemed like the tone kind of changed where she became the adult in that conversation.
Yeah.
For the first half of the work, because he's just so like unsure of himself, and she was kind of like. And she's a little actress, like ready, and I was like, "Wow."
Yeah, she was fantastic. I mean, that movie definitely sticks with you.
Yeah.
And I think that's gonna, Sony has 3 this year, but I think that's manageable because they're a larger studio.
What are some of the other 2?
They have the one we were going to talk about next, The Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, and then they have Little Women, which hasn't come out yet.
I am really excited for it. I feel like I've seen all the iterations of Little Women. I've read the book, but this one, I'm like, I love the cast.
Yeah.
I'm so into it. I'm ready to watch Timothy on screen.
Yeah. I mean, and you know, I don't think ever since his career started that he hasn't been in the conversation at awards season.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean.
Yeah, that's true.
Call Me By Your Name.
Yeah,
and
Lady Bird.
Lady Bird. And then he was in.
What's that?
The one last year. What was it? Oh, Beautiful Boy.
Mm-hmm.
Beautiful Boy. And now he has this. Because obviously it won't be for The King. The King seems to be.
I haven't seen it.
Well, I didn't see it either, but from the reaction so far, The King seems to be the one Netflix movie that misses the mark. Because Netflix right now, I don't want to get into this too much, but to me, Netflix is the major player this award season.
So are they in contention? Are they able to be nominated as?
They're doing this specific 3-week run with a lot lot of these movies,
like so Irishman and things like that.
Yeah, so they can qualify.
Oh.
So it's that movie, The Two Popes,
Marriage Story.
I think Dolomite.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
So I never got to talk to you about Marriage Story, did I?
Yeah, no, we didn't talk about it.
But let's go back to Sony, and then we'll get into Netflix right after that. But Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood. I want you to say what you said at the beginning of the show.
I don't remember. I don't remember.
No, what did you say about the movie? And be honest. You said if someone wasn't in this movie.
Oh, okay. Well, obviously, so first disclaimer is when I went in, I didn't see the trailer before I watched this.
You didn't?
No.
Oh, okay.
No, and I just went on under the assumption of it's a beautiful. You know, Tom Hanks all over the poster. You know, he's got the Mr. Rogers thing going on. I was like, okay, so it's gonna be like a dramatized doc-ish type of, like, basically a telling of his story, how the show started and his involvement in the show, and then so on and so forth, right? I didn't think, because everybody was like, yeah, but Tom Hanks is like a supporting character. I was like, well, how can that be when he's on the poster and like It's a Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, so it's a play on it. And then once you watch it, you're like, oh, he really indeed is the supporting character. I really found the movie super charming. However, if it wasn't Tom Hanks in the role of Mr. Rogers, this movie would not have spoken to me at all. I think I would have been not happy with it. But because it was Tom Hanks, and because all the scenes that he had with the lead, it elevated the movie for me. 100%.
I couldn't agree with you more.
Give the man an Oscar.
Yeah, I mean, you know, he's getting the Cecil B. DeMille Award.
Is he?
Yeah, at the Golden Globes, and he deserves that.
Yeah.
And I'm glad it's tied into this movie because, like you just said, if Tom Hanks wasn't in this movie,
if it was another actor, it would have been a very different movie.
It really would, because he just encompasses everything about Mr. Rogers. And from the way, just the mannerisms and the blinking
exactly.
and I don't know, it's just
100%. Like, Tom's always been the actor where he's not just in 100%, he's in like 120%, and a lot of actors do this too. But you can tell he puts in the work and he studies every character that he's portrayed. Little movements, a little facial ticks and things like that Mr. Rogers would do. Like, you know, he how many countless of hours have you probably watched of the program to get his voice exactly, to mimic someone's movement and voice is not easy. You know, you can be an actor, but then when you have to be an actor and mimic that person and do them justice, it's so hard. And he does it flawlessly. And then with like the wardrobe and the makeup, it's just like everything was pulled together flawless. Yeah, and
this is another example of what I was talking about earlier about why I also don't think Taron's going to get it, because here's the male version. You literally watch him.
Would he be?
He's supporting. He would be supporting.
And Taron would be lead. So that's a whole different.
I feel like with all those categories, there's very few movies, I mean, throughout Oscar history, I feel like there's very few times where there's been numerous transformative performances that have gone in all these different categories. I feel like there's usually one or two, and it's usually broken up between one male and one female.
Okay.
So to me, where I think it's going to be a lock is with Renee and him. There is no other, again, sorry, Jamie Bell, I think he's so great in Rocketman, but now he's up against Tom Hanks.
Tom Hanks and possibly the actors from, probably most likely the actors from The Lighthouse.
Right.
Because the performances.
Yes, those are really great. Even though I don't feel that way about the movie, but the performances are really good. Oh my God,
it's so good. Like, I think it's like my favorite thing that Willem Dafoe's done. Really, and I like him a lot. But you could tell he had a lot of fun in that film.
But I mean, Beautiful Day in the Neighborhood, it's so funny to me because, like you said, if it didn't have Tom Hanks and there wasn't those nods to the original show, the way that they craft a lot of the details of the story.
Transitioning from the set to real life, that's so good. Yeah.
But the lead character, on the other hand, is so
the
jarring.
Writer.
Yeah, the writer who this movie is actually based upon.
Real life, yeah. This is real life thing.
It's just so one note. I felt like the performance was very much like bitter and angry.
Chip on his shoulder, and then meeting Mr. Rogers and kind of changing his outlook. Did
you feel? I felt like watching this movie, even though he had certain scenes, there's a great scene in the Chinese restaurant, that, in that moment, you feel like he's going to change.
Right.
And then the next scene after that, he's like, oh, here he is again. He's back. He's bitter. He's angry.
Right.
I didn't feel that change from him. And that's where my problem lies with the movie.
Yeah, I can see the character arc being slightly flat, but I also think if you look at it from a human, what's the word I'm looking for? Human reaction, human behavior type of a way, people can't change like that.
Right.
You can be inspired by a person to be better, and I think that's exactly what happened in this movie. That's what they wanted us to see, but I think it speaks to where you're starting to see the transition was slow and subtle, and I think as humans that's how it would work. Like, you have really good days where you're going, to kind of the more positive, like, I'm going to behave better, I'm going to be a better person, I'm going to think about my actions. But it's because you've been this way for so long, it's so easy. Yeah. It's second nature. Right. To just fall back into that same old ways, and it takes an effort to become a better person. So I kind of enjoyed seeing him work through that, and it really took something drastic to happen for him to finally break down and accept and kind of forgive and do all the things. So I kind of saw it from both ends, because there were times where I was kind of like, well, here he is again, like Eeyore walking into the scene and bitter and just wanting to like take everybody else down and around him. But what was great about the counterpart being Tom Hanks is that he didn't let him do that. Right. He was just like, you can't touch me, I'm Mr. Rogers, I'm in this bubble of like perfection, and it was so great. And that's kind of what I like, seeing like the so polar opposite of the two characters. But you and I also talked about this, and this movie really humanizes Mr. Rogers in a lot of ways. Yes. They showed that he did, in fact, get angry, and that things weren't always... The conversation between the writer and Mr. Rogers' wife was probably one of my favorite scenes. Very short scene, but it was nice, because in that moment, immediately, it's just kind of like, oh, he is human after all. Like, and as human, we all have tempers, we all have bad days, but it's how you work through them. Yeah. And I love seeing actually those actual moments where he's had a bad time, he's had a bad day, and how he processes that. And just thinking about it right now, because it's how the movie ended. Yeah. Like, it just chills down my spine. I was like, yes, because I was wondering if we would see it or they wouldn't touch it, to let it play out, and they did. Yeah. And I really, really thought it was a nice touch. Yeah, and that's what I guess. That was what was weird to me about the journalist character. And I understand what you're saying, and I agree with you. Like, someone who's been bitter and angry is not just going to wake up one morning and have an interaction with someone and change overnight. I get that. But I think it was just how negative the character was. Yeah. And just like, I'm never a person who's like, oh, I can't root for the bad guy in a movie. Like, that's not me. Right. But you were annoyed by him, I was annoyed by that character because I just felt like he had all these things that were good in his life, and he just like took everything for granted. Yes. And I just there was this weird disconnect, and I guess this is why certain movies work for some people, is that
you have to find something about a character to connect with, and there was nothing about that character that I was able to
You don't know
connect
anybody
with.
that's like that in real life.
You don't like that?
I know I'm not like that, thank God, but I know
It's
a
interesting.
person
See, I don't know anyone like that.
that is very much like that in real, and so I get it because I see it, and when it's hard to be around someone like that. It's very hard. It's like all of your energy is drained. You're just kind of like, well, I'm not having a good day anymore. I lack motivation now that I've hung out with this person. So to kind of see their story arc and see that they grew from it, I think it's for me, it's kind of like, oh, I get it, and it can happen if the right person comes along.
Yeah.
Or if you're there to help. And I think with that movie, that lead character, God, I'm so sorry, I can't even think of like the actor's name. He had a whole support system around him.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
You know, like
The wife, the lady from This Is Us, right?
Yeah. So, you know, I think I feel like maybe they made him more negative than he probably actually was in real life, just to kind of off balance the Mr. Rogers.
But see, that's where my problem is, because you and I discussed this too, is that the way that they humanize Mr. Rogers in the movie kind of gives you this arc. It doesn't change your perspective on him either. He's still a nice, lovable guy, but it gets you see certain, like, he's dealing with stuff too, and he has a darker side as well. With this film, with that character, I just felt like there was never any true glimpse of like hope for that character.
Oh,
see, that was the weird thing that I walked away from this movie with, is that I got to learn a little bit about Mr. Rogers, and I got to see, he's not the angel. Like, he has a very positive outlook on life.
Yeah.
But with this character, I just I'm like, oh, this freaking guy's going to go back to, like, you know, crying in his pillow, saying he didn't get the next article in his magazine.
No, that's true. I can totally see that.
So that's what I'm getting at.
Yeah.
So,
totally get it.
So that was a very in-depth conversation
Totally
about
get it.
But that's good.
Bottom line, go see it.
Ladies and gentlemen, that's how you have a constructive conversation about a film. Two people have different perspectives, and you talk it out.
Okay.
And that's okay.
But we still like the film, so it's not like we disagreed on that.
There you go. What was another one that you wanted to talk about?
Let's talk about. I got to pull up my notes. There's a lot that I saw. Can we talk about Parasite?
Sure. Oh, we need to talk about Parasite.
Oh my gosh, it's so good because I remember watching Okja and being very excited for it, and then I didn't love it. I liked it, but I think I hyped myself up, and I think like reading all the reactions and stuff before seeing the actual film really hyped it up for me. And so I don't know what I was expecting, but it was like I put it on a pedestal before I even saw it, and then so
we do that a lot.
This is true, and then so I came out disappointed. Not that I wasn't entertained. I thought there were so many good things about the movie, but this one, something about it with the trailer, and because it had this like slightly like thriller, suspense, horror element, a little bit of like a Get Out type of thing, where I was like, this is going to be so interesting to watch. And it was just like, what I didn't expect was how funny it was going to be. I didn't expect that at all. I thought beginning to end it was going to be like dark and creepy, and it was going to be great. I liked it even better that it had all like this like dark humor in it. It was so good. Yeah. No,
I think
the storytelling's great.
The storytelling's great. It's nothing like you expect from it. Even after you watch the trailer, you're just constantly
it gives you nothing away.
Yeah,
it gives nothing away.
You think you're like that trailer is going to ruin it, but really you need to see it.
Yeah.
And there's so many twists and turns, and so much commentary about social class. But it's a movie that you can watch over and over and over again. You will find little things. Now that we've seen it, I want to go back and watch it and see if I can pick up on the little things. Well, the other thing is that last year Netflix, their only movie that they had was Roma, and they pushed that. And one of the big things that they were hoping for was, maybe we're going to get a Best Picture win with this movie. Okay. Parasite, to me, based on all the reactions, like, even the people who are not, like, on the pedestal of this, which there are very few who don't have it on that high of a pedestal, right, say it's good. Therefore, I think this might be the first time in a very long time where this movie will get nominated for Best Picture, and I'm not 100% on this yet, but it has a really strong possibility of winning.
Really?
You don't think so?
Well, I just wonder because it's
subtitled?
Yeah.
Foreign.
Yeah.
But I know people who like really dread going to see foreign movies because they hate subtitles, but they said they were so deeply engaged and into this movie that I think that's what makes it stand out.
Yeah.
Just like how we were talking about The Farewell earlier.
Yes.
That is a movie where you don't have to be of Chinese background or anything like that. It's a universal story.
Yeah.
You learn something about the culture when you're watching it, but it's a universal story.
I think that's exactly right.
And this movie is very much a universal movie. This movie could be a black family, a Hispanic family, a white family.
Yeah.
Anyone can relate to this movie.
Yeah.
And I think that's what makes it special.
I really agree. Like I couldn't. This was my favorite film out of TIFF. And it was also the most anticipated for me. Yeah. So that said a lot. And I was like, here we go again. It's gonna be like an Okja. What if it's an Okja repeat? Like I thought this. I was really nervous sitting down for this because I was excited. Everybody was excited. Like the theater was like really full. I waited, I think, an hour because it was a public screening in the line. Yeah. Beforehand, so I could make sure I got a seat because it wasn't assigned seats. So like I don't think I could shut up about it. Like I talked to you guys about it when we were at TIFF. Then I came home and I talked to everybody I knew, and I was like, you need to go see this. And
it's a hard movie to talk about without people seeing it because you don't want to give certain details about the movie.
Yeah, you can't give it away, especially that second half. You just can't give it away. And all I can say is watch the trailer and then buy a ticket. Yeah. That's all I can say is you cannot miss this. It's so good. And it won't be the same, I feel like, if you don't watch it in the theater. I feel like it's a better experience in the theater, too.
Because it's in a weird way, it's a crowd movie, isn't it?
It's a what movie?
It's a crowd movie. Like, you kind of have, like, the reaction of the people around you. Yes. Like, it was weird, even at the TIFF's press screening where I saw it for the second time. People are interacting with it. Like, they're like, it's like the Quiet Place reaction. Yeah, like, oh my God, what's going on here? Yeah. And I think that's very important.
Oh God, it's like I can't wait to watch it again. I asked my husband because he he doesn't love horror movies, and he has dyslexia, so he has a hard time doing the subtitle thing. And I'm like begging him, like, please go see it with me. He's worried that he's gonna miss out on certain conversations. And then he would have to be like, "What happened?" And I'd be like, "Well, I can't talk to you right now about it because we're in the middle of the movie." So we're trying to figure out like what we can do, because I really want everybody to go and see this. It's like fantastic storytelling. There's humor and there's definitely some horror and shock elements in this that just blends together beautifully.
Yeah. So since I just realized when we were on this show that we have not talked about Marriage Story. We need to quickly segue over to Netflix and how I don't know how they're going to handle award season. I don't know how they're going to handle award season because
it's a good problem.
It's a good problem. Very good problem. Very good. Because last year they had one movie. Yeah. And they put all their eggs in one basket. Yep. They put all the money. They slipped those envelopes underneath the door. They got whatever they needed to do to get that movie out there. This year, what the hell are they going to do? They got like 4 or 5 movies. Yeah. Marriage Story, I think, is another movie, kind of like talk about Parasite. It's another movie where I think anyone who's ever been in a relationship, anyone who's ever been married, you're going to relate to this movie.
Yeah, very relatable. And look, I know everybody is like, oh, Adam Driver's so great in this. Like, let's not forget Scarlett Johansson in this. Yes. Like, she drove the story to me. Oh, okay. She really, really did, and I feel like she's being overlooked just a little bit because I don't want to downplay Adam Driver's performance, who is equally as good in this. Certain scenes were really heartbreaking to watch, and I think that's kind of what make this movie so great and entertaining. To me, is it does deal with that, like, oh, we shouldn't talk about the divorce, almost like a taboo subject, and you see kind of like the ugly side of it, and also what can be born out of it. Yeah. Out of these two people who obviously do have so much love for each other, but their relationship just coexisting doesn't work for them. Yeah. They very much have their own paths, and where one really thinks he or she is budging for the other person, and they're not. Right. And there's that push and pull, but you can't pick a side. Watching this movie, I thought, okay, maybe I would like maybe 10 minutes in, I was like, oh, I'm on this person's side. Yeah. I think. And then in the next scene, you're like, oh, but wait, it's so interesting.
It's so honest in its portrayal
it is
of a
very
marriage
honest,
and also of a divorce. And what the other aspect that I loved about the movie is, besides the two leads, and I mean Scarlett and Adam, these are probably career best performances from both of them, is all the supporting work and how it shows that the more and more people who become involved in your life, the more chaos they cause, and how much so much of their conflict was because, oh, well, my lawyer said this or this person said this.
That was so ugly. Oh my god. Like, I had an idea of how it, but I had just, for me, I was like, oh, I barely scratched the surface on like the divorce process.
Yeah,
it's a whole thing, and it was like probably my least favorite part to watch, just because it made me so uncomfortable and it made my skin crawl. And when one of the characters would have to sit down with the lawyer and you go through the process and he's talking about the fee. And I was like, well, are you really trying to help this person now? Like, it's like, oh, we're gonna do the best what we can for you. We're gonna get you what you want. And I was like, yeah, you bleeding them dry. They were gonna have nothing left.
Yeah, I don't want to give too much of the movie away, but there's two lawyers that Adam Driver's character goes through in the movie. And the one lawyer is the more kind of like, I'm going to go for bat, this is no big deal, kind of like the easygoing type lawyer. The guy who's not really fighting all that much.
Not a shark.
Yeah, not a shark. And then when the shit hits the fan,
yes,
another lawyer steps in.
Yes.
And that's when it just goes like, oh my God. Yeah, like this is when things are going to get real and things are going to get really, really complicated and very, very difficult.
Yeah.
And I love seeing that comparison too, because I feel like he was trying to do, they do such a great job of showing these characters, because Scarlett Johansson at first just wants a divorce, and she just gets told that you need a lawyer, and this lawyer winds up talking her into like all these things that she needs.
This is a really good lawyer. I was like, oh, you should definitely.
And then Adam Driver's like, what's going on here? Like, let's just sign the paperwork and be done with it. Straight down the middle, 50-50 split.
Right.
And then like he tries to get a nice guy lawyer, and it doesn't work out, and then he's got to pony up the cash and get someone as a jerk.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's really great.
Yeah, there was a lot of layers in that movie too, just because it just wasn't dealing with, like the marriage and the divorce of the two characters. And it's like you said, it's all the side characters and adds so much more to this movie. And when you involve like the family aspect of it too, because they have family and friends that are involved, and then they're both in the entertainment.
And two different cities. So that all of it plays into it, and you really see and this is what I mean when I say you can't pick a side, because they do a really good job of kind of telling you both sides of the story and letting you pick if you want to pick a side. Yeah. Which at the end I couldn't at all. No.
But I thought it was such a well done movie.
Yeah, and in a lot of ways it is a kind of a love story as much as a movie about people breaking up.
Right.
Because you do feel bad for both of the characters, and you do see that they love each other at the end of the day, even though they've gone through this horrific.
Not all divorces end in screaming matches and all of that stuff, but you can see how this movie also lets you see how it can get there.
Yeah.
How it can get really ugly, because all those courtroom scenes I was watching and I was like, oh my God, like how do you look at the other person after that?
Yeah.
How do you look at them?
Yeah. I mean, there even just certain scenes where they were having arguments that you just, and you feel like you've had those arguments before.
Oh yeah.
And that's when in my screening, there's people who get very uncomfortable during certain scenes because they, instead of absorbing what's going on, they get uncomfortable and they start laughing. I don't know if you had anybody laughing in our screening.
I mean, in the scenes that were actually funny.
No. Like, in the middle of the fight scene, someone bursted out laughing at Telluride, and I'm like sitting there, I'm like, well, what's funny about this? But I know that people get very uncomfortable about when things get too serious and they don't know how to react to it.
Too close to
hit too close to home.
Yeah.
Yeah. So that I thought was terrific. Another movie that we didn't get to talk about that much was Dolomite.
Yeah.
I love Dolomite.
I had so much fun watching it.
Yeah, it's such a great comeback movie for Eddie Murphy.
Yeah.
it mocks the blaxploitation film, but like almost serves as a love letter. It's in a lot of ways, I think it's the disaster artist of this year, right?
Oh, okay, yeah. I didn't really think about it like that, but yes.
It's very like I feel like it's a love letter to someone who has passion and drive and like really wants to do something different and unique and doesn't realize that it's not really that great.
Yeah.
But the cast, everybody in that cast.
Wesley Snipes, though.
Oh my God.
He's so good. He's excellent in this. Would you say then, because we're talking about Netflix and Oscar, and also transformational roles.
Oh yeah.
Eddie Murphy in this.
I would, it's a Golden Globe performance, I think, where he's going to get nominated, not for the Oscars. Just the Golden Globes.
Okay. Because
they have the separate categories. So possibly even at the Critics' Choice, because they have the separate categories. But because they broke it down into just the one category for Oscars, no, it doesn't change.
It was such an entertaining movie.
I know.
I had so much fun watching the whole thing.
There was that ridiculous. I hate sex jokes in movies. It's one of my things that I just never. But there is a scene where they filmed like a sex scene in this movie.
It was the best. Great. It was the best. Great. Audience ate it up.
Oh yeah.
It's so good.
And that's what I love when I see a press screening too. Is like you went to the premiere of this. I went to see it at a later time where I was with the press people. And it's always interesting to compare the two and see how press versus public interact.
Yeah.
And I mean, in that scene, people were like.
Dead.
Dead. Clapping their hands.
No, it was like a party in our theater.
Yeah.
It was so fun. Eddie Murphy sat like a few rows up from where I was, and like snuck took a picture. I was like, but then there was a crowd of people around him, so I drew a little arrow. I was like, Eddie Murphy's here. I think. Yeah.
That's a really great movie, a great comeback movie for him, and you talk about like just a fun movie, something that you can watch and like you can say that. The acting is all great. The story is great. But that has rewatch value. Yeah. That's a movie that you want to watch like over and over again.
It's so fun. Just pop it on Netflix. Oh, God.
Yeah.
It's great.
I know you did not see this, but this is the movie that surprised me the most that Netflix has. It's called The Two Popes.
No, I didn't see it.
Which I do recommend you seeing.
Okay.
Jonathan Pryce and Anthony Hopkins play two popes.
Okay.
And it's all about, it's like a before midnight type scenario where they just sit there and they talk back and forth and share stories about their life.
Okay.
I never thought I would say that would be entertaining and engaging,
right?
But it really, really is. And I think he should get a nomination. Jonathan Pryce for sure should get a nomination. And the screenplay is just brilliant.
Yeah.
I mean, it's really, really intelligent and funny and engaging and dramatic. Like, it has it all.
Yeah.
For a movie about two popes talking. It's really special. And then, of course, we can't talk too much about it because we didn't see it, but the rave reviews today, Irishman. So right now, I don't know what Netflix is going to do because they have 4 really different movies, but 4 movies that stand a really great chance.
Yeah. What do you think they will push for?
They're going to have to push Irishman the hardest.
I think so too. Because
it's the director, and they want that legacy director, and then the actors are legacy.
Yeah.
So like you have to do that, and that's important.
Yeah.
But then there's the small subtle movie like Two Popes that can kind of sneak in and get like a nomination here or there, and maybe it won't need as much of a push because it'll just be award voters will go see it and like kind of like, oh, look at these older actors, we love these guys, blah blah blah. But like I think Marriage Story is surprisingly, I think that's going to be the one they're going to have to push the hardest.
I think so too. Yeah.
Why?
Because I think it doesn't have the good director and actors. It doesn't, when you line it up next to The Irishman, it doesn't have that legacy, that legendary feel to it already. It's a newer it's not a newer story.
But it's a newer, like almost all the people involved. Like even though Noah Baumbach has been around for a while, he's known for making very hipster type movies.
It's
very
younger.
Younger.
Maybe that's how I should say. And I'm not saying that like only old people are going to see it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm just saying the two very different vibes of the two films. So I think maybe the Academy will look at it and go, well, this one screams Oscar material, story, director, actors. It is an easier push, and I think Marriage Story, because it seems like a younger, more modern, contemporary story, could be a little bit harder to sell.
Yeah, I think the only chances they have with that movie right now are the actors. Mm-hmm. I think that's the only thing that they have that they can kind of push.
Yeah.
And as bad as this sounds, mm-hmm. the easiest person to sell in the movie.
You gonna say Adam Driver?
Nope. Laura Dern. I think Laura Dern's the easiest person to sell in the movie. Because people know her, people love her.
Yeah.
She's like Meryl Streep. She's like people love her.
She's so great in her scenes. Oh my gosh. But when is she not though? If you look at Big Little Lies and literally everything else she's been in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know. Well, it's unfortunate that we didn't even get to talk about the new movies this week.
Oh, Abominable?
Because we already talked about it. But that is the movie pick of the week.
It's so cute.
Yeah.
It has a lot of heart. Has a lot of layers. I cried.
I know we have to wrap, but I did want to ask you about this. One of the things that I loved about the movie was that it handled so many really deep themes for a family film.
Yes.
Loss and grief.
Yes.
And, just like remembrance.
Yeah.
But also the culture. Mm-hmm. And I felt like this was just a story, another story.
Yeah.
That didn't spoon feed us like, oh, this is a movie about culture.
Yes, it's very natural. They didn't try to try to exactly what you said, spoon feed it to you. It just let everything happen organically, and that's what was so great. So it doesn't distract from the movie and the character and the story they're trying to tell. It's just, these are just the players and this is just the setting. But here is the story and here is the heart. And what do you get out of it? And it's like, my heart was so warm coming out of it. I love the little whooping snakes.
Oh my God. Whoop.
Whoop. Whoop.
Yeah, no, I love that movie.
And Eddie Izzard's great in it too.
I wish that, DreamWorks had a shot against Disney. I really do, but they don't. But
not this film. It's a big competitor, Disney, and they've had a lot of great animated films that come out. But this was really entertaining, and it didn't feel too young, where if you bring your kids to it, you're going to be like, oh my God, look at these jokes, it's so kiddish and blah, blah, blah. It's good family, it's all ages. Yeah. It's an all ages movie, and I want to own it on DVD.
Yeah, me too. I think it has a great balance of adult themes in the film. It very much feels like a Pixar movie.
It didn't dumb anything down.
No.
Yes, exactly that.
It feels a lot like a Pixar movie, where it deals with very heavy themes at times, but there's enough cutesy stuff there with, the Yeti and whatnot. But also just
certain scenes got dark.
Yeah, oh my God. Yeah, I mean, there's the scene with the violin with the flowers.
Tears.
Yeah,
Tears.
I was so surprised at how emotionally effective that scene was. It was great. So that's it for this show. Judy's also out. That was our runner-up this week. If you're going to see this movie, you're going to go see it. It's Renee Zellweger. You should go see it because of her performance. Everyone has said that. She's the reason to see this movie. Wendy, where can they find you?
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at Wendy Lee Szany.
And you can find me at Twitter and Instagram at @TheOtherScottM, and go over to WeLiveEntertainment.com. Thank you so much for watching. Had a lot of fun talking about award season again. And we'll be back next week. Take care.
From producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, and the entire Popcorn Talk Network, we would like to thank you for tuning in. For questions or comments, be sure to visit popcorntalk.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of the Popcorn Talk Network.
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of the Popcorn Talk Network or its owners or principals.